All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Buy Box. Today, we are joined by, Matthew is here, and we're joined by a special guest, Hayden, who is a full-time Amazon seller, I'd say entrepreneur with lots of different ideas. He's a content creator with his own channel. Is it Mr. Hayden? Is it? Have you changed
That's
it?
it? No, Mr. Hayden,
Mr.
yeah, it's been there for a while now. Yeah.
It's been there for a while. And Hayden is a creator on YouTube and TikTok, and I believe, Amazon seller who does unique bundles. And I think it's your first time on the podcast, is it, Hayden?
No, a few times. I've never, ever had a chat with you, though, Johnny. In all the years we've known each other. We've never spoken to each other.
Did we do one last year? Didn't we?
Yeah, we've done a couple, Matthew, but yeah, I've never spoken to you, Johnny, like ever on a call. So here we are.
Yeah. So, well, obviously, Natalie is unfortunately under the weather right now. So I am now Natalie and covering for Natalie and do my best to do my best impersonation and take over the roles while she's away. But Hayden, thank you for coming on. Like you said, it's been too long. Do you want to just introduce yourself quickly? I know you've been on this before, but just want to let me know a little bit about yourself. What are you currently doing in the business world?
Sure, yeah. So I've been selling, I think, about 4.5 years now with Amazon specifically. Before that, I was actually doing, what was it? Amazon to eBay drop shipping with Jono, actually, who I think you met at the event. Me and him were doing that together. So that was like years and years ago. So about 6.5 years probably been like in e-commerce, but 2 of that was sort of like, a bit of a, I was going to swear. Yeah, it wasn't a great business. It wasn't stable. So then I got into, I started off online arbitrage and then eventually got into the unique bundles and then obviously built that out. That's sort of my main thing. And then got back into arbitrage now, doing the USA as well. So I do a mix of arbitrage and unique bundles. And then I've just launched a private label brand as well. And I'm just sort of creating another private label brand. So yeah, that's kind of like my Amazon side of things. And I've got my YouTube channel. Don't do any TikTok anymore, but I've just got the YouTube channel I focus on. Just launched a podcast with Yanni, obviously. So that's going to be cool. First one tomorrow. And then apart from that, I've got the advertising agency, PPC agency with Nat as well. So which a lot of people don't know about, but we've slowly been building that up in the background. And that's me, really. I don't think I could do anything else. I think that's me sort of maxed out.
Partner of the pod with the PPC agency. That's going to be exciting. So what marketplaces are these different ventures in? So you've got private label business, you've got online arbitrage, you've got unique bundles. These strategies, which one are you saying, like, I'm going to do online arbitrage in America and then unique bundles in UK? How does it all work and split up?
So arbitrage is USA, unique bundles is the UK. We do some bundles in the USA, but it's mainly in the UK. So I've got sort of like my unique bundle brand is in the UK. That's where I've been focusing for years now, just creating products. And then the private labels in the UK as well. But we've got obviously the plans to sell the private label internationally. We're just sort of testing it here, which, by the way, not sure why I'm doing private label in the UK. I think there's a lot more potential in other countries, but it's just the country that I know. So I'm starting it here, but we've got full intentions to have it like all over Europe, USA, Germany, etc. So that's my current setup.
That sounds good. I was listening to someone the other day, and they're saying about online arbitrage in America. In the UK, obviously, as soon as you go over the fat threshold, you're at a disadvantage where obviously you have to get your price 16% cheaper than a non-VAT fat registered person in the UK if you're selling stuff with 20% VAT. Is that one of the reasons you went to America and did that? Because that, like, you grow the business and then you're not at a massive disadvantage once you reach the 90K threshold.
To be honest, it was just like I implemented more of a volume game for the USA because, fortunately, we've got a lot of spare cash left over in the business because we've had some success in the UK, and I just basically was sitting there just collecting dust, and still is. So I'm constantly trying to invest that, even if it's lower returns, I don't really sort of care. You just need to. It's better than sitting in the bank, So that was the reason that I started arbitrage again. Still looking for other ways to sell. I've been looking at Europe, doing pan and everything. just to spend more of the money in the bank, really. So yeah, but yeah, the UK is sort of where my heart is. I don't know why, it just is. It's because it was the first market. I seem to always focus on the UK. I don't know why. I don't think my time's best spent there, but yeah, it's just what it is at the moment.
Yeah. So to bring it to you, Matt, like obviously you sell 20% of that goods, right? And you predominantly sell in the UK and Europe. Have you ever thought about going to America, across the pond, and
Yes.
leveraging
No,
your
I have
business?
thought about it. I have thought about it. I mean, the VAT thing's quite appealing because obviously, if anyone doesn't know, obviously, particularly from an arbitrage in the UK, EU to America, you claim back all your purchase VAT and everything you buy, and then obviously you pay sales tax, but the buyer pays the sales tax in the USA, unlike in the UK, where obviously the seller has to incorporate it into their price. So it's a bit of a different way of doing things. So there is a little bit of a financial advantage there, certainly from the sales tax point of view for arbitrage in the UK. So that is something I think we will look to in the near future because it does seem very attractive.
Obviously, shipping.
We're very much invested in Europe at the moment and growing European channels. That's where our focus is at the moment.
Obviously, shipping is just extortionate, though. Shipping to the
Yes.
USA. So it's definitely not all roses. Sometimes you look at your profit and you're like, oh, we've done well, and then by the time you take off your prep, you're like, oh, I actually haven't done well at all. It's thousands and thousands, even if you're not doing volume. So yeah.
That's the thing with most marketplaces, though, isn't it? And I think that's the thing people forget with the UK as well is that yes, okay, it's the smallest of between European and the USA, but it's easy to access and it's quick to access, and it's not costly to access because Europe, although Amazon's put a lot of programs in place to support the European expansion, it's still expensive. There's lots of compliance and things you have to do. So yeah, it's still expensive to sell there. And yes, you may get higher margins, but they're offset by the compliance costs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, imagine if you brought your business model to America and you haven't got the VAT over your head, that'd be be swimming in it. Is there competitors in America, who are sort of doing similar to yourself? Have you looked at their models and been like, oh, that seems interesting. Maybe I can compete with those guys. So like, has there ever been a point in your career, Matt, where it's been like, I need to make that move now to America? My model is perfect for it.
No, and I think the model works in one respect, but again, I think one of the reasons I've got to where I am is because of focus. And there's so much noise in the communities of, oh, this is amazing, crypto and USA bundles, and they're all great opportunities. But the superpower is going, this is not on my roadmap. Are we going to put it on the roadmap? And when are we going to put it on the roadmap? Not just flipping between doing a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this, a bit of that. They're all fantastic opportunities, but you can't excel at any of them if you're trying to do all of them. So yes, I recognize opportunity. I do know it's a great market, but it's just not yet on our roadmap. So for me, I think like I say, the reason I've been successful in the business is because we've been very focused on this is where we're going and everyone's working towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always say that the richest people in the world focus on one thing. You can get rich by doing multiple things, but if you want to get very, very rich, you got to concentrate on that niche. And Hayden, with yourself, what is your sort of, you've got 4 or 5 different things going on there. What is your sort of 80%? What is your main focus? What is your main driver there, you think?
Yes, it's true what you say there, Matthew, because obviously I don't know. I say I'm not sure why I keep focusing on the UK, but obviously I've had huge success there, and I guess like even December, I'll share a few figures. I think top of my head we did about 40,000 net profit just in December, in our UK store. So I'm like, and then, but sometimes when it's sort of up and down because I sell gifting products, it's up and down throughout the year. So I think that sort of dampens the confidence in the model throughout the year, and then I remember why I'm doing it, when it comes to Christmas and all the seasonal times like Mother's Day, etc. So yeah, that focus is definitely, I think that's why I've been obviously sticking to the UK, because it's just something that's kept building. But in terms of my main focus, it has always been the e-commerce, and I think specifically I'm really excited about private label. I've always had this desire to have a brand that people are actually searching for. I'm talking about a brand like, for example, the foot brand. I think it's called School or something. School, whatever it is. I mean, I've used that in the past, and I check their searches. There's like tens of thousands of people searching for just that product. And like, I've always had a desire to have a brand that's, you know, like a proper e-commerce company where people are searching just for your product. And then I think that's when you start to really win. Because otherwise, and I think that's sort of turning into my main focus now, and why I've gone to the private label, because I've had this sort of huge success from what I've done so far. But it's still not quite enough, you know, and I just want that sort of, I want that protection, you know, that sort of moat around me. And I think if you build a brand, like a private label brand that people are searching for, then you get that moat, you know, and that's kind of the goal now. I thought, to be honest, it was going to be more sort of focused on service businesses and stuff with the agency, and that is a massive focus. But I do actually, upon taking a step back recently, I've realized that I have got a lot of love for creating products, launching products, and e-commerce in general. So yeah, I'm sort of hovering between, I'd say, the services and the e-commerce at the moment.
Yeah, I think building those sort of layers around your existing business kind of, you know, adds value and adds security to those businesses. And, you know, Matt is the one who always talks about this, and how when he got suspended from Amazon, how many, 4 or 5 years ago, a long time ago now, your eBay and your Shopify business, Matt, kept you going, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was the one thing that kept us going, to be honest. Having the money coming in from other channels was absolutely vital. I think what you said there is really sensible as well. I think with diversification, it should be either sideways or vertical integration, in terms of you do something to the side of your business, like an agency service business, like another platform, or you vertically integrate, i.e. you move down the supply chain. So you start a private label brand that you then already have the retail store for. That makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make a lot of sense is when people try and build 10 streams of income and they're all completely unrelated, because it's very hard to bring into one business and try and systemize and streamline. You know, the sensible move is to say sideways or vertically expand your business.
Yeah, for sure. I think multiple times I've thought to myself, oh, maybe I should just do another industry. Sometimes I just get completely fed up, I'll be completely honest, with e-commerce. I'm sure we all have it. You know, like a couple of weeks ago, I was just like, oh, you know, it was a bit of a roller coaster, and thought to myself, oh, I've got friends doing really well in the property space. You know, I used to be in that. Maybe I should just go full hug into that. And then a couple of days later, I've got over my little hissy fit, and I just, you know, I come back to reality and get stuck in again, you know. But I think that's probably, we all have that, you know, we all have that when times are slow and things are tough. Yeah.
And do you have any business partners in any of your Amazon, like private label, unit bundles, or OA, or is it just by yourself?
No, it's all me. Yeah, it's all me. So I invested all the money. I took a small loan to start with, about 15,000. But apart from that, I mean, we've got like pennies left to pay on that. Apart from that, yeah, no business partners. No, I haven't got any loans or anything. Just a tiny little one left over. Apart from that, use a few credit cards. Yeah, no, it's just me really.
So what's your sort of team look like? Do you have any management teams in place for these different sides of the business? How are you actually managing, you know, that's 3 different businesses, right? And, you know, private label, unit bundles, OA, they could all be massive businesses on their own. How are you managing all this? Like, what's your structure?
Yeah, with the where are we? So with the UK, I've got a few, yeah, I call them freelancers on that, you know, the virtual assistants. Got a few of them on that. 2 prep centers, and then with the USA as well, we use prep centers, and we've got I've got another 2 virtual assistants on that. One of them that we share with someone else in a pool, and one of them's my guy in charge of that. And then with the agency, we've got 2 more team members on that. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, but and obviously accountants and stuff like everyone's got. Yeah.
So what was your role in the business? What's your sort of, what do you add value to on all the 3 businesses? What is your, you know, what's your thing? What's you know, MD, you know,
yeah,
CEO? What was it?
Agency, I run that, as in like looking after the clients and everything. With the with the UK, all I do is create products. Obviously I check the team's doing it, but I've got someone in charge of the UK, so I'm just creating products for that, and then, you know, researching the private label, so like overseeing what I really envision to be the future of the private label stuff, whilst creating the bundles. And then the USA, obviously we've got sources and everything, so I just create a few products, a few bundles for the USA as well. But yeah, I don't do any management or anything like that. I'll oversee the management. I don't do any of that unless someone is having real issues, you know, off. But yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, so it's all outsourced apart from just creation, which is the thing that I'm best at. I'm really creative, and I've talked about that in a few of my videos before. I'm really creative, and I think like I could never do like your business, Johnny. I don't think, because like I'm just it's such a volume thing where you're probably in charge of all the management to quite a high level. I think you love details. You love the small details and the management and scaling it and trying to get marginal gains. Whereas for me, I'm just creative. I just love creating products. So I've got to make that work and get other people to manage it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like discussing moats and creating layers in your business. I think having your own warehouse and doing that volume, what happens is I get a certain rate from our carriers because we're doing so much volume where, we're getting next day delivery for £2.49, which is cheaper than FBA. Even if you look at pick costs of your own warehouse and all that, I'm still cheaper than FBA from our own warehouse. So obviously turning over cash and getting stock in and selling that as soon as it arrives in the warehouse, I can turn around stock a lot quicker, and my cash flow is usually better than people doing FBA. So that is always my moat. That Matt, I'm going to bring it to you. Creating a management team is tough, and for me, I've had problems with management teams, warehouse managers, and operation managers, and all that. And it's I think one of the hardest things in the business. Matt, how's your experience been with management teams? And
Yeah,
obviously you've got a big
it's
business.
really hard to do it. Yeah, I think it's one of the hardest things is to put people in place to manage your business for you, and also not just run it, but grow it. That's the real challenge. Like I think lots of people are very capable of running a business, but it's not. One thing I totally underappreciate, it's not just the running, the day-to-day operations, it's the forward thinking, the pushing it forwards, the commercial awareness. That is a skill set that I just don't think everybody has. And I think it's hard to find people who have that skill set, because most of those people are already entrepreneurs and already running their own businesses. So that can be a real challenge, is finding almost like an intrapreneur, essentially somebody who will act as an entrepreneur on your behalf. That's the real challenge, rather than just, operational people are easy. Lots of, you build a system, so you work within the system and, crack on, and that's fine. But getting someone to replace you and look at opportunities and spot potential, deals that can be done or avenues to explore, that is very difficult, because a lot of people as well naturally like to play life safe. There's a reason that these people are employed, is because they don't like risk. Entrepreneurs have an appetite for risk, and therefore it's why we are what we are and we do what we do. And I think as well that cannot be misunderstood, that most employees will always choose the safest option, because that's just their mantra, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It is it's a tough game. Hayden, have you ever been sort of tempted into sort of having your own sort of UK warehouse or distribution center, or just too much on your plate? Or what's the
Mate, yeah, I guess we're coming up to the levels now, especially around Christmas. I mean, I want to do may not sound a lot to a lot of people, but we really focus on them high margins. So like, this Christmas, I think we do 250,000 just in the UK, with the sort of margins that we're doing. And
Q4?
Yeah, this Q4, yeah. No, just in December. I think we'll do that. Just in our UK stuff. So we're certainly coming up to the level where I think we could do it. However, because, as I say, because it's a gifting business, it's kind of sometimes I struggle to think about pulling the trigger because of the the consistency. We get massive highs and then major lows, So that's why I've counteracted that with the USA. In terms of would I do a warehouse, I think definitely, like, especially if the private label brand really took off, like one of them that I've got, I think we'd sort of have to, especially because I want to do the multi-channel fulfillment and, pan and everything like that with that. It's kind of something I'm not too stressed about. At the moment, it works, when I check the books, we're making good profits with the current setup, but it is getting a bit messy. Like, it feels like a bit messy. I kind of like, You know, one of the biggest issues we have, especially with the arbitrage front and the bundles, where you could have, sometimes we've got 9, 10, 11 items going into a bundle. And as you guys know, when you're ordering stuff and when you're trying to outsource the ordering to a team, which I have, they're trying to order for, if they're restocking 12, 15 bundles that have all got 9 different components to them, and then the other side of the team is ordering 12, 15 different SKUs a day for arbitrage, that's a bit of a mess, because you figuring out what's been tracked, what's been delivered, what missing items that we need to chase for refunds or replacements, etc. That's the bit that I think would be much easier if we had our own warehouse, and that's the bit that is sort of an ever-growing sort of ache. so I think one day, yeah, for sure. But right now, it's manageable, and I like to have the sort of freedom that I do at the moment, just to jump up whenever I want, But yeah, I'll be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit worried, a little bit scared to take on a warehouse and build a team internally like that, with that pressure. I'll be lying if I didn't say that. So at the moment, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm in a bit of a comfort zone. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I like to always preach is, if you're opening up a warehouse, you've got to keep it busy. In my eyes, a busy warehouse is a profitable warehouse, because there's a natural tendency for people when it's busy to actually work harder, because they know they have to get those orders out. But if it's very relaxed, they know, what, it's January, it's not gifting season anymore, I might take it easy. It's motivating them during the non-busy hours, which is very difficult to do. And that's where usually people lose their money, because the staff efficiency will drop by 20, 30%. And when you're in a warehouse, your biggest cost is going to be your labor. So maximizing labor when you're in a warehouse is like the biggest thing. So, for your model, you'd have to look at it, and, maybe you could do it where you'd have a small team and have agency workers coming into Christmas. And then, from January till September, you'd have your core team, and then focus more on like wholesale or another side of the business, or, whatever it is. But it's a tough thing with your setup of comfort right now. If it's working and the numbers look good and you can see it growing, then is there a point, is that why bother getting a warehouse, right?
Yeah. And I'm always thinking about, what's the goal? Well, the goal is usually to earn more money, and that more money might not necessarily be from my e-commerce business. Yes, I can keep building that, but maybe I introduce coaching, or maybe I introduce the agency, which I have, for example, and then I still live the lifestyle I've got without having to worry about managing a warehouse team. So there's always then things I try and consider, what's the best option to earn more money? Is it scaling that thing, but then it comes back to focusing on that one thing, doesn't it? And if you really want to go for it, then probably is to focus on that. Yeah. Who knows? I certainly haven't got the answer.
Yeah, I think in the UK, like, again, with a warehouse, I think being able to do self-fulfill prime is always, I think that's the golden nugget in the UK, because you can obviously get next day delivery to the whole UK. In America, if you do self-fulfill prime, your actual regions and the actual reach is not that much, so it's not that good. In America's FBA, you can get out to a wider audience, and then obviously split it up to the different warehouses and be a lot more efficient. Matt, what's your sort of opinion on all of this? What's your...
I think, I've said this a few times, with 2024, it's a different gameplay. We looked very much in the past, we had cheap money, we had cheap loans. This enabled people to have quite a lot of capital, which meant that they had the time to send stocks to FBA and wait for it to get transferred and all the rest of it. The difference for us now is, without this capital, without the borrowing at a reasonable cost, there's still borrowing out there, but it's a lot more expensive. The cash flow is going to be one of the most important elements to a business. Certainly to a business like ours, which has very expensive goods, which means we have to spend a lot of money to get our goods in. Therefore, we need to ensure that we can turn over that stock as fast as possible. So we are very much transitioning towards self-fulfill prime as a core of our business, because fundamentally, I can have a product in stock today and sell it today and get paid for it tomorrow. Whereas, FBA, I would probably get it in today. It probably wouldn't go till Thursday at the earliest on an FBA shipment. Then it wouldn't get to FBA till Monday. Then it'd probably go FT transfer for 5 days. Then it would sell. I could have bought that product 4 times and sold it 4 times, maybe even more. So which is actually more profitable, is buying a product 5 times and selling it 5 times better than selling it once and not having to ship it yourself. So I think the dynamic has changed. I think FBA made a lot of sense. It still makes a lot of sense for a lot of people as well. If cash flow isn't a challenge for you, if you've got good cash reserves, as I know you said yourself, Hayden, you've got good cash reserves, then FBA works really well. But for a lot of people, in particularly the wholesale game where the margins aren't as good, then I definitely think that seller fulfill prime is going to be something a lot of people are going to gravitate towards. And I think it will be the difference between people being successful and people being average, certainly in the wholesale business.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think getting a warehouse now is pretty scary because one thing in the warehouse you need is consistent spend, if that makes sense. So every week your spend should be consistent. So there's a consistent amount of stock coming in, so you can then judge your staff levels to make sure they're the most efficient. Because there'll be too much stock and they're overwhelmed, too little stock and they have nothing to do. So you find that medium, and if you're keeping it consistent, is the key to making a profitable warehouse. And I think, in the comments, if you've got a seasonal business and have your own warehouse, I'll be curious to see how you actually set that up. Maybe it'd be sort of having a prep center, and then your busy times are in Christmas. But it's a tough one, and with lending being expensive, and you don't want to put that cash reserves into building a warehouse outright and then having no cash for stock. That's always the trouble, right? How have you found the sort of lendings in Amazon lending going away, Hayden? Has that been affected your business? Have you always been bootstrapping your businesses, or have you what's your strategy in growth?
Yeah, I've only ever taken one Amazon loan, which was £1,000, and I paid that back I paid that back in like 3 weeks. I've never ever, apart from that loan I took from the bank a few years ago, which, as I say, we've got pennies left to pay. I've never taken any other loan, and that might be a massive, negative to me. Maybe I should have to grow quicker. I'm not saying that was the right thing to do, but I just never did. I'm not the sort of person that can sleep well at night when I've got loads of loans and stuff. It's just who I am. I've got sort of OCD tendencies, so I have to have everything perfect. And I'm not good with uncertainty. It's my massive weak point. So if there's ever a doubt that I'll be able to pay it back, then it would play with my mind, just like So that I've never, no, it doesn't affect me at all. So I've managed to successfully just keep reinvesting. I didn't pay myself for a long time. I still now pay myself very little compared to profit we're making. And I don't know why, because it gets to a stage where you look at the money in the business, you're like, I kind of probably should pay myself more, but it's just so not tax efficient to do so. I just end up leaving it in there. Maybe we'll set up like a business S&P 500 index investment from it or something like that. We're looking into that sort of stuff, but
it's bootstrapping it's the way all the companies now are not looking at profit, right? You look at all the different clothing retailers now. They used to have free returns on clothing, and now they're like, even Zara and stuff like that are now adding costs to all their returns, and it's a different world now. And you're the way you've grown your business is like the way you should grow your business today, where
it feels,
you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, because even like now, for example, like sales have been so crazy. Literally, sometimes I wake up and we've done, some days we do, thousands in the UK. Other days we do like 400 or 500. It's just so up and down. I just can't. And I would be panicking if I had big loans to pay back. With stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, it evens out with our USA stuff that's really consistent. But it's I think I sleep better at night knowing that I haven't got massive overheads to pay like that. And maybe that's just me. It would play on my mind. Having said that, we are bringing in like essential products now. So I'm starting to create more like essential bundles. So rather than just our gifting stuff, although I'm still doing, I'm very much more focused on now. I've just told one of my team members to fully focus on essential products. So we're going to bring out a new range of just essential bundles, just to even out the consistency a bit. Because it plays with your emotions a bit, when you're not sure how the next week's going to go.
It's super impressive how you've grown to your revenue levels without any sort of external lending, apart from that obviously one bank loan. But you see a lot of revenue numbers on TikTok and Facebook, and we don't see it too much anymore, do you? Because now Amazon lending's gone away. I'm sure you won't see it hardly as much. But for you to sort of bootstrap a Amazon business and use your profit to reinvest, it's super impressive. So you've mentioned, you have 11, 12 components in a bundle. How are you managing some?
Yeah.
How are you managing the sort of the forecasting and inventory management on that? What's your go-to? Is it seller toolkit? Is it
Question.
manually?
Well, I don't. Yeah, it's kind of a manual game for us. I mean, we've got a really good prep center for the one that does all the management of our UK sort of unique bundle stuff. We create a schedule for the current week, the next week, the week after that, and we try and forecast like that. It's just a case of training up one of my staff members to know exactly what's in each component. And then he's the only one that does and is allowed to do the ordering for our unique bundles. So I've just trained him, and it took months and months and months, and it was really, really painful. But I just trained him to. It was so long ago, I can't even remember now. I trained him to really master every single unique bundle, and it was literally his homework was to just study each one, study all the sources that we can buy them from. If our wholesalers are out of stock, we work directly with brands on most of them. We just order direct from the brand. But even if they're out of stock, I say to him, this is the maximum price that we're still making profit on for every single item that is an allocation with that bundle. If it goes over that, we can't restock the bundle. Here's a couple of substitutes as well. Sometimes we have to use substitutes if they're out of stock, but here's the maximum price of the substitute. So like he's studied every single bundle so that he can go and restock without me doing it. And I will do a spot check as well randomly sometimes just to check that he is making sure he's not messing up the cost of goods, because I've had that before where you think you're making X amount, but then you realize that someone's been reordering your bundle at £2 more than what the original cost of good was in seller boards, and then you're not making money. So yeah, I do a spot check as well, but yeah, he's just been trained up to do that. So it's a manual gig, really. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, shortages happen when you get deliveries, and to consistently get all 12 in at the same time, there's going to be shortages. Are you sort of running it like a takeaway or delivery food restaurant where your components in your unique bundle can be used in other bundles and you can sort of swap and all that, and you're having like similar ingredients and different things, if that makes sense?
I've tried to niche it down. Like, I mean, some people will probably stalk me anyway, they know what I sell, but like there's some keywords that if you type in, I've got like 8 or 9 bundles in them, 8 or 9 unique bundles. And like my brand's just consistent. I mean, some people won't realize how many I've got because a lot of them haven't got our branded packaging, but we've got a lot in some keywords. And yeah, I tried to reuse items or very similar items, or items that I can use substitutes for items that are very similar that won't get complaints from customers, whether that's certain items. That's what we sort of do. This year I've really focused more in on that, as in like I've got, say, my anchor item is a certain like flavor of something, for example. I've started creating bundles where everything's exactly the same apart from the flavor of that specific product is different, and then I've got like 5 variations of it. That's what I'm starting to do a bit more, because that I think that's a good way to have less admin. That's for sure. Yeah, if I've got a really successful product, I will then do 2 or 3 different variations of it. That's like the method we do.
Yeah. Has it improved? How long have you been doing unique bundles for now? How many years?
Probably 2.5 years, I think, just for unique bundles.
Did you find it more of a struggle sort of a couple of years ago when there was sort of a shortage? There's a massive supply shortage a few years back. How did you find it back in those days, starting off?
Yeah, it didn't really affect us that much, I don't think. I think, it wasn't a major issue. We had a couple of suppliers that had issues, but apart from that, luckily when you do certain types of products, I say it's one of the main points with bundles is that you can use substitutes if you really have to, as long as the customers are going to be all right. And if they're not all right, we just refund them. So that wasn't too bad. But yeah, obviously it has its challenges. Yeah, I think it was 2.5 years ago was much less competitive for unique bundles. Definitely. Obviously a lot more people know about it now. I mean, I used to create one of the biggest challenges I had is back in the day, I used to create a unique bundle, put a little bit of, penny PPC on it, and it would just sell. And then all of a sudden 3, 5, 6 a day we're selling. Now I'll launch the exact same type of products in the exact same keywords, and I've got to spend 250 quid in 7 days on PPC, to get some traction. And even then, sometimes it's not successful. And that's the exact same sort of item I was selling 2 years ago, really successfully. It's because of the level of competition that's come into the market. That's the biggest challenge. But it's a challenge that just got to keep adapting and getting better, like anything. Like any business.
Yeah, it's all about that. Now you've
Yeah.
mentioned the sort of S&P 500. What's got you into the safe, probably smart investments? Aside to sort of your main businesses, what's got you into sort of indexes now, and like what's the play there? Or, what's your move there?
Yeah, that was the moment that I had about a year ago when I was listening to a lot of sort of money experts, and I just had that reality check that the value of my money is actually sitting in the banks going down, not just in the business,
Yeah,
but with inflation. And obviously, I knew it, but I didn't quite realize the extent it was probably actually going down. I realized that if the money just keeps sitting in the bank, it's just going to mess up my plans in 15, 20 years because it's going to have half its value or less. So I realized I need to do something, but I had no idea what was the best option to invest. So I started looking. I listened to what's his name? I can't remember his name. He wrote that book, I Can Make You Rich, I think it was. Stephen Bartlett interviewed him not long ago.
okay.
Can't remember his name. Anyway, he just explained the S&P index funds and forgotten the other one, long data fund or something like that. We call it index funds. He explained how simple that was, and I didn't realize how simple that was. So as soon as I found out about it, I figured a few more things out and started investing in it. And I just think, for me, as I said, I don't like uncertainty that much. So crypto to me has always been. I've thought about crypto, but it's a little bit too uncertain for me. So I thought the index funds proven themselves after the last 100 years, and I've just it's the perfect model for me. I look at that in sort of a 30-year time frame, which some people can't do, and I've got this trajectory now as I'm trying to get to 100,000 as quickly as possible invested in the index funds, and even that should be worth in 30 years like 1.6 million or something, and then that's not including the top up we're going to do every single month, as on top of that. So it's kind of just like securing the retirement or something, but so then I think to myself, all I've got to do now is fill that gap in between the next 30 years. As long as I can get to that 100 grand as quickly as possible, and you've just got to fill that gap in between and make sure you're earning good money there, and then you're sort of set for your life. That's the idea.
Yeah, I've gone from being in my 20s and looking at sort of Bitcoin and looking for that like 10x investment to now where I just want the most passive way. And I don't want to give, it's not financial advice, but what I do is I put, make sure I maximize my stocks and shares ISA, all 20K. And in a few years I've gone from picking individual stocks, and now I just put it in a world tracker. Like I don't know, yes, which is even less risky than the S&P 500 because it contains everything. So now I'm just putting everything in a world tracker, making sure I'm always getting my maximum ISA contributions every year, which is like 20 grand. I'm 34 now, but if I do that every year, by the time I'm 55 or wanting to chill out, probably not, I'll still be working at 55. It's a nice little pot. And I think that's something I wish I did 10 years ago, was rather than trying to go for those sort of like Bitcoin and HMOs and service accommodation, just sort of like what's the golden penny, can't remember the word, I don't know why, but I'm going for the safer route because my main business, Amazon, is my main focus, and that investment's in this side in the background. Matt, what's your sort of what's your play? Is it all in on the business, or is there a little bit
mostly
pots?
mine's all in on the business. So I've just kept reinvesting, just not taking anything out of the business for years. So rather than taking money out to then put it into an index fund, I've just kind of left the money in the business, which is partly why we've had such good growth in the business, because we've been able to reinvest and continually grow. Again, back to what we were saying earlier about timing and things, I think now is the time for me, though, I'm starting to look at other things. I do have some money in index funds, but that's just literally very much put away and forget. It's not really actively invested. I do have a few shares I did invest in, and one piece of investing advice that's not really advice, but one thing that I've always followed is invest in companies that you think are expensive. So we bought a Red Row house and I thought they were very expensive, so I bought shares in Red Row and I've tripled my money on that one. I go to Greg's all the time. I noticed the prices went up and they were quite expensive, and I did quite well out of my Greg shares. So little things. I noticed my water bill was very expensive, so I bought shares in the water company. Little things like that. I've just always kind of thought, if something's in my life and I think it seems to be quite expensive, I thought, you know what, maybe this is, rather than me paying them a lot of money, I'll actually buy some shares in the company and see what I can do well in. And to be fair, that's worked quite well for me as a sort of investing strategy.
It all comes back to, like, again, it's building layers, right? And I think when you're making profit in your financial year, you need to look at that profit and be like, well, am I just going to take the corporation tax hit on this? I'm just going to keep it in the company, in the same company. Do I look to acquire other businesses, use that profit to buy other businesses to sort of scale and add layers and moat around your business? Or, do I do like sort of pension contributions and take 60K out a year of that profit, never see it again for 30 years or 20 years, and then avoid that sort of corporation tax bill? And Hayden, have you ever thought about sort of using your profits from your main businesses? You said how much you made, 40K in December, which is incredible. Have you ever thought, I'm going to use that 40K, I'm going to buy a private label brand rather than starting from scratch, and then I can reduce that 19% of the corporation tax, probably more than that for you because you're making more profit from 50K. Have you thought about buying existing companies rather than starting from scratch?
It's funny, last few months I thought about that, but I also thought to myself, I guess I didn't look into it enough, basically, because I thought to myself, oh, why would they, if it's a good private label brand, they're probably going to want a lot more than what I'm going to want to pay for it, and it'll probably absolutely wipe me out. But then again, I didn't look into it properly. I could.
How it's in property, right? Like you buy things because of death, divorce, and taxes, right? There's always
of course, and also I could try and pay them over a 6-year period. I could try and pay them 50 grand a year for 6 years. And that Daniel Presley was talking about that the other day, which is very smart. Just buy it over a 6-year period, and just improve the business and say that, look, if I can't afford to pay you, then I'll just give you the business back with the improvements that I've done to it. So there's a lot of people I think that want to exit that would do that. I thought about it, but that's as far as it's got. I haven't looked into it properly. It probably would be a good idea. Because a new private label brand I want to start, it's going to be a bit of a mammoth project, but it's got such huge potential because there's such a gap there. So,
Have you thought about acquiring?
I think there's a massive opportunity in this at the moment. In terms of not so much what we think of as traditionally private label. So I've just seen the comments, sing a song with your microphone. So it's not so much in terms of traditionally private label, buying a private label brand on Amazon and taking over it, but there's a lot of sort of baby boomers who've run businesses for many years, kind of got through COVID, now looking to retire. There's a lot of brands that you may find locally that you could take online. You can add that 21st century expansion to them. I think it's a very good opportunity at the moment. I think there's a lot of people in business who are looking to exit. Think about, if you say you're in your 60s, you've been working for 40 years, you've built a brand, but it's only a small brand, so it's not really got much potential from a resale point of view. And most people kind of think, well, I'll just wind the business down and retire. Well, that's a completely wasted opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities to find these brands, reinvigorate them, and take them online, and launch the products online. I think that is potentially one of the biggest opportunities coming into 2024, is finding businesses like that with owners who are looking to exit and structure a deal. And again, back to what we were saying, yes, the big private label brands are going to want big money, but there's lots of small brands out there. And you don't need to necessarily have huge pots of money to go out and buy these brands. You can structure a deal, because every business owner wants the business to succeed and continue, even past them and their involvement in the business. So if you can structure a deal whereby you go to somebody and say, look, I can't afford to pay you to $250,000 right now, but here's 50,000 and I'll pay you X amount of profits over the next few years. A lot of owners will jump at that because they want the business to continue to succeed, especially for the staff who've been very loyal to them. Because if they close that business, then that means it's the end for them staff as well. It's not just the actual business in themselves, there's other people to consider. There's lots of kind of options to structure these types of deals, and then you can kind of reinvigorate it with your Amazon knowledge, your e-commerce knowledge that we've all acquired through the group, the communities, and through our experience, and then really propel that brand into the 21st century and give it a new lease of life.
Yeah, for sure. I'm even thinking about some of the manufacturers that I work with for the bundles that I buy from. Some of them are small, they're small sort of local businesses, but they do well. And even like acquiring one of them and bringing that on Amazon, bringing that on eBay, bringing that on Shopify, and really giving it a push, reigniting it, you're right there. And I don't think that'd be serious money either. You could pay them over a few years' time, Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's all about sort of vendor finance if you can get it right. Of any sort of business structure, if you can get the vendor who you're buying from to finance it for you, that's always the sort of move. And I've been thinking obviously about buying a warehouse as well, and trying to trade actually own what I'm trading out of because of all the sort of business benefits. So that's something that I've been looking at as well. As obviously I need all this profit, and there's a lot of things going on, but everything going on, Hayden, like I just want to ask you sort of about your time management. How are you finding enough time in the day? How do you structure your actual day? I know you go to the gym, you eat well, you're healthy. You have a partner. You go to Greece. You go away a lot. How are you structuring your time, and how do you do it?
Mate, it's not that pleasant. I'll be honest. No, it's something that I have struggled with for quite a while, because I know I said that I've got the sort of like OCD tendencies as well, where it's like it's not a full blown, but I have to have things in order. And if I haven't got things in order, and if I feel like I'm not sticking to a plan, then I really struggle. Obviously I work with Natalie. She'll tell you that I like my ducks in a row, put it that way, and I like to know that I'm making progress. Progress is my number one, indicator for me to be like happy and feel like I'm fulfilled. So it's tricky, because obviously I'm managing a lot of stuff, and a lot of the time I think to myself, it would be so much easier if I just focused on one thing, like 100%, just went all in on that. I think for my sort of mindset, it would be easier. But then, I get a lot of energy from doing all the stuff that I'm doing now as well. So in terms of managing it, I just, every day, every single day, I look at my long-term goals, where I want to be in the next 5 years or whatever, in terms of, in reflection to my current focuses. And then I make my to-do list in reflection to them goals to make sure that I'm, creating X amount of bundles this week, or working on the private label brand, or trying to get more clients for the agency. I sort of do a checklist on that, add it to my to-do list to ensure that I'm making constant progress. And I think this is what most people probably struggle with the most. I get pretty lonely, to be honest, as well. It can be a pretty lonely game, because everything I do is online with myself most of the time. And I'm extremely disciplined. I'm extremely disciplined. And if I tell myself I've got a to-do list, I get that done no matter what. And that sometimes is detrimental to like my mood and my relationship, obviously, because, by the time I've done that, I might not be in the best of moods. But I get it done. And I think that's what people struggle with the most. Yeah, that discipline to make sure you're doing what you put on your to-do list in reflection to your goals. And that's how I've had that constant move towards my goals, if that makes sense. But it's definitely not easy. Yeah, there's a lot to do, especially when you're juggling a lot of eggs like I am, and you guys are as well.
Yeah, you said some really good things there. You said about sort of, you had the OCD and you had to be very structured. And I think it's good, and you're saying about you have to have improvements and you've got to have goals. And I always think if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And I think that's always a big thing, where you always have to set yourself little goals and measure how you're doing and those to actually improve. And I think that's a big thing. You mentioned about the loneliness, and they always say it's lonely at the top, right? Business is a lonely game. And, I enjoy being in the warehouse, but when I'm abroad and traveling and I'm on my own behind a laptop, it does get very lonely. Especially being at the top, because there's no one, and without business partners, it's always a tough thing, because all the big decisions is on yourself, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So I get your point on that. Matt, what about yourself? Like, what's your how do you structure everything? Obviously, we're in business together, so we've got the training, the software. Your own business, your own wholesale, your own business, warehouse. How do you structure it? Your wife, dog.
The fundamental thing to understand is it's all about prioritization. And I think back to what I was saying earlier, knowing what to say no to is really important. You have to understand you cannot do everything. And I would rather say, no, I cannot achieve this, than trying to say yes to everything, do everything, and then just end up failing because it's physically not possible to do everything. So a lot of the time management in my life is knowing what to say no to and just prioritizing what is actually really important to me, what is really going to move the needle, what really needs to be done. and if I'm struggling with a task, again, delegation is so important. Just trying to delegate as much as I can out of my life, so that I don't have to deal with the mundane and the boring, and I can focus on things that I really want to do, or things that only I can do and that I need to do.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's really is structure really helps me. So, for instance, like I watched a video like with Lex Friedman. I don't know if you watch Lex Friedman, but the way he structures his days in sort of chunks of 4 hours. So I do like 4 hours in the morning. I get up, just work straight away. I don't do any like ice baths or anything like that. I'm more on the Alex Hormozy train, where it's
Same,
get
yeah.
up and work. I don't believe really in the morning routine. I believe you got to get straight into work. So I'd always do 4 hours, just solid work. Emails, calls, meetings, making sure everything's all right. And then I'm trying to always take 1-2 hours and just go to the gym, go for a run, and do my own sort of own fitness thing, because we all work so hard and to get to where we are, and I think like that fitness balance is just so important. And then for me, I just do another 4 hours and then eat food, and then the last 4 hours are always gonna be sort of like light work / a bit of family time, maybe watch a film or something like that. But being in a situation where multiple companies, I'm a workaholic. You've got to have that structure. I think it's really really important, just for the mind, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I do. I get stuck in, and then I go and have a break for an hour or something like that, and then I get stuck in again. And then around 4 or 5, I've noticed that's not my clock. Like between 3 and 5, I sort of diminish. My energy just diminishes. So I go to the gym, relax for a bit, come back, and then get stuck in again, and sometimes work too late. But yeah, I guess when you do love it as well, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Because I literally don't want to do anything else other than just push the needle and just work on the business. But then having said that, obviously it's lovely to have time off as well, especially like going away and stuff.
Yeah. So Hayden, what are you sort of most looking forward to in 2024? Which business excites you the most?
All of them, really. I mean, yeah, as I say, we've seen great consistency with the USA, so I might invest a little bit more over there. With the UK, just going to keep pushing on. Sometimes I'll launch so many products in the UK and I won't really see the repercussion of my actions until the next seasonal time. For example, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever, Christmas, I won't really see it until then. So I'll keep plucking on there, because the seasonal times are getting bigger and bigger, every year. So that's what I sort of focus on there. And yeah, as I say, the private label stuff has really got my interest as well. And then I'm going to obviously keep pushing with the agency and all the content that I do as well. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah. What's your main focus, Johnny?
Honestly, it's one of those things where it's cash flow, getting more consistency in our business. We just had our best sort of 4 to 5 months because we were so on it every week. But then we got hit with pretty bad cash flow in the last few weeks, because we moved from Every to Amazon shipping. So we had to upfront like £80,000 just paid out 2 months previously. Obviously, Amazon lending now. So our Amazon lending is about to end. We've only got maybe 20K left. So it's like 2 massive hits. And also we ordered a container from America a couple of months ago. So we've had about 100 grand locked up. So basically like our business for the last few weeks has just sort of been, our spend had to sort of go to like half, and the consistency has just dropped. So for us, I think it's just keep learning about the business, do what works, keep consistency for us, and keep our team busy. I just have a new warehouse manager, so I want to keep building that management team, keep improving our warehouse and our efficiencies. And for me, it's also, B-Stocked has been in for like 2-3 years now. Again, we've got 2 really good people in there. We want to add another person to help out and just sort of get that to where it's going. Because obviously with the inventory fees and stuff like that, that's coming to America, the low inventory fees, B-Stock's gonna be really important for a lot of people. And getting that right is tough. And having a replan business and knowing when to send stock in and all that is just going to be so important. So for me, it's getting that right. And I think that's as well as just my health and fitness. I went to Portugal for a month, and I put on 8 kg in like 3-4 weeks. So I want to get back. I want to get back down to sort of a good weight, good healthy weight. Get my fitness back up. So yeah, a lot of goals, mostly to keep things consistent and get my health back is really the main thing. Matt, what are you looking forward to this year?
I'm really looking forward to stuff with the Hive, to be honest. It's been really, really good focus for me. Been doing some mentoring this year as well with a few new people, which has been fantastic. So really excited about that. And also just trying to transition my main business into being more self-sustaining, getting that all sorted, getting that basically running itself, so that I can have the time to go away and do more of the Amazon stuff and the teaching and the mentoring and doing YouTube and things like that. That's something that really, really excites me. I'm really looking forward to.
That's great. Yeah, no, obviously the Hive thing, I'm loving it so far. We've been doing it for a year, and Hayden, you're an affiliate for the Hive, and where can we find you, Hayden? I know we started to Mr. Hayden at the start, but where else can we find you? So if we want to watch more of your content.
Yeah, Mr. Hayden YouTube, and then Mr. Hayden Facebook group. As I say, we're launching the podcast as well. Tomorrow's the first one, so that will be on the podcast. Yeah, it's called Econ Weekly, and that's going to be a live chat with me and Yanni, and that will get uploaded to the Mr. Hayden YouTube channel. It's going to be live in the Mr. Hayden Facebook group, and then it'll be uploaded to obviously the podcast sites to Econ Weekly as well. So yeah, that'd be exciting. More than anything, it's just to counteract the loneliness doing the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
nice to chat to another seller, and obviously we get people on as well. But yeah, just discuss some cool stuff as well. And also, it actually helps me because I create a lot of content for YouTube, and that's quite a time consumer as well. This is actually quite a good way for me to, create content live and then upload that to the YouTube. So it's kind of like a bit of a life leverage thing for me there as well, to have that consistent weekly upload onto YouTube as well. With a really good detailed content, takes some pressure off me having to make sure that I do all my videos as well. So yeah,
it's exciting times. We'll definitely put the links below in this video, guys. So if you want to watch Hayden's podcast, it starts tomorrow. I'm going to tune in. Definitely looking forward to it. To you both, thank you guys for the podcast. It's been fun. Really enjoyed
good chat,
it.
yeah,
And it's been a really good chat. So to everyone who's been listening, thank you all, and like and subscribe. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.